European Court of Human Rights over possible reforms to the injunction that halted migrant flights to Rwanda. It comes after Suella Braverman said migrants could be sent to Rwanda by the summer. She's continued her visit to the African nation, where earlier today she met with students from Kepler, a non-profit university programme where at least 25% of its students are refugees. The UK and Rwanda are vowing to step up efforts to tackle migration. The agreement between the two countries has been expanded to include all illegal migrants, not just asylum seekers. Meanwhile, Ms Braverman has also been speaking about police conduct in the UK, saying she's prepared to change laws to expel rogue officers in the Met Police. She's acknowledged it's very difficult for chief constables to get rid of officers who she says fall short. The Home Office launched a review of the police disciplinary process earlier this year after serving Met officer David Carrick was convicted of rape. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that Russia is open to a diplomatic resolution to the Ukraine crisis, but says he rejects ultimatums. In an article written for a Chinese newspaper, he also welcomed China's involvement to solving the crisis and said that the two nations are fighting common threats. He's due to meet the Chinese president tomorrow in Russia for peace talks. Xi has said a peaceful resolution needs to comply with the UN Charter and respect security concerns of all involved. The comments come following Putin's surprise visit to the Ukrainian city of Mariupol. On Friday, the International Criminal Court issued President Putin an arrest warrant on charges of war crimes. And Switzerland's biggest bank, UBS, will take over its rival Credit Suisse in a government-backed deal worth more than £2.5 billion. Credit Suisse shares fell by 24% on Wednesday to a record low amid fears of a wider European banking crisis. The Swiss president has praised the move, saying it's the best solution to provide confidence in the financial market. The deal includes 100 billion Swiss francs in liquidity assistance for both banks. The Bank of England has welcomed the move, saying UK banks remain safe and sound. TV, online and DAB Plus radio. This is GBNews. Now it's over to headliners.
Hello, I'm Stephen Allen and welcome to Headliners. Joining me tonight to take you through Monday's top news stories on this Mothering Sunday, we have the motherload that is Josh Howie and Ben Norris. Did you have fun times with Mother's Day?
Well, not really, no.
Are you not a mother?
I'm not a mother.
Should have inquired that before we start the show, really.
I tweeted my mum about half an hour ago.
Oh.
She forgot my birthday.
It's fair,
about
fair,
a month ago. So I was letting her sweat it all day, and then I got in there just to keep in with the inheritance.
Healthy family relations, that's how we do it. Right, let's go through your front pages. The Daily Mail, Euro judges set to back down on Rwanda flights. The Guardian says health union members in push to reject NHS pay deal. The Times, toxic Met faces being broken up. The Express, Rwanda plan, is Euro court backing down? The Metro, Boris's deadly dossier. And finally, the Daily Star, spring's on hold, folks, polar scare. And those were your front pages. Let's make sense of all that. We begin with the Daily Mail, Josh.
Now, the thing is, I don't think our GB News viewers really want to get into the whole, like, Rwanda and Braverman and the EHRC and stuff like that. They want to see straight away what it means here, because at the top of the Daily Mail, if we're going to show the little page up there, it says, you can't really see it, top right, the verdict, unrivaled analysis and reports. But they haven't said the verdict of what? Have I missed something in the news? They haven't said the verdict. What verdict? And it says, pull out inside. That's how we had our fifth child. There's also a picture of Kate's family. These are our future, sort of, the people who will be our future king and queens or whatever.
Oh, the ones who are better than us.
And they look better than us. They look like the perfect family. I'm very interested to see, there's a lot of semiotics going on. That's a word that I learned at university. And there's one of the kids has got Adidas trainers. Yep. And one of them's got Nike trainers. I'm just saying, I don't know if there's like some sort of future rivalry between the brothers already starting.
That's Cain and Abel all over
I don't know, that is how it starts, right? But that's a good-looking family. I'm pretty happy to have them as our future better people than us.
Talk about social climbing.
They're really up there. Very good.
Tree.
Yeah, but they haven't showed how... They're all in a tree, but how high is that tree? That tree could literally... They could have... You know what they probably did? They probably just cut down the whole tree...
Yeah.
Cut it out and then just put that little bit there just so that they're like 50 centimetres off the ground.
Yeah. And they get up there by climbing on the backs of about 5 different poor people.
And you know what? You've made me angry now, Steve.
Well,
This photo disgusts me. But let's get on to Euro judges set to back down on Rwanda flights. That's what everyone wants to know now. So, essentially, after blocking it last summer, the EHRC, the European Court of Human Rights, has said or suggested that actually, you know, this whole Rwanda thing, they might not be protesting. They sort of banned it last time on Rule 39 order. Rule 30, I don't know if you're familiar with Rule 39. It's also, coincidentally, the same rule that they use in Star Wars, the Clone Wars. There's Rule 39 where that's what the Emperor sends out, that then they turn on all the Jedi.
Oh, I've not watched it yet, so you've ruined it.
Oh, OK, fine. So you look baffled here. Have you not seen Star Wars?
I've seen it, but I didn't know they could use rules from films to like that.
That's what they did. That influenced the Equality and Human Rights Commission, or whatever it's called. Is it commission? Something to do with human rights. I don't know who came first. The Equality of Human Rights, a European whatever, or Star Wars. We don't know yet.
I'd say, well, the Star Wars 1977, so I imagine your EU's just before that.
OK, well...
Just before it.
OK, George Lucas is a big fan of the Equality and Human Rights Commission. So, yeah, that's probably where he got it from. Anyway, this is great news for people who want to send everybody who comes on a boat to Rwanda. What do you think?
About this particular story?
No, about Star Wars. What,
Yeah,
what are we talking about here?
Which is your favourite episode?
I'm not a Star Wars person. It's not my...
Yeah, look at you with your having sex. Anyway.
Yeah, that's...
Do you want to say anything on Rwanda?
I think it's...
Come on, say something.
I don't think it's an attractive policy.
OK, fine.
For me, it feels...
Start sending in tweets, everybody.
I heard someone interviewed on this earlier today, and they said something which I hope is true, just because it will be ironic and therefore funny, that the Europe might be OK with this if every case is reviewed on a case-by-case basis.
I'm all about case by case.
Well, then that means people need to be kept in the UK until their case can be reviewed to see if they could be sent to Rwanda. So maybe we just deal with cases quicker, which would have been the problem.
Most of these people arrive with no cases, I think you'll find.
Oh, well, that's going to ruin that plan, then, isn't it? Let's move on to The Times is up next, Ben. What are they going with?
Well, they've gone with the lockdown parties that Boris Johnson is saying that the inquiry is going to be biased, because some of the people involved in the inquiry had already said that they thought that Boris was a liar, and he is going to try and wheedle his way out of this one.
So he only wants to deal with people who don't think he's a liar?
Yes. I think
Don't know he's a liar. It's going to be very hard to find anybody in this country who doesn't actually know that he's lied loads.
Yeah.
So good luck with that one.
They're going to have to bring some people in who don't really know who Boris Johnson is, and they can do the inquiry.
Yeah, well, they're coming in, apparently, without cases.
If they get the wrong decision, they know where they'll be going next.
Yeah. I mean, it is difficult to work out what his point will be. I'm looking forward to the whole interrogation, if that's what it's called. Because the argument would normally go, he says he doesn't know what the rules were, therefore didn't know what he was breaking, if he was breaking the rules. The only reason I knew the rules at that time is because I saw him say them.
Yeah.
So how would he not know them?
You know what? It's like, look, people don't know the magic of TV, but Steve has an auto cue right here. So he is not aware of any of the words you're actually saying. So it could be they put it in the auto cue, like, don't have parties. He didn't look at it.
Yeah.
He just sort of read it, and you're quite happy. You know what it's like with the auto cue. You're like, oh, I actually said these words, and they seem to make sense, but they don't actually go in.
Oh, yeah.
So I can understand what he's saying. He didn't know don't have parties actually had come out of his mouth, because he was just happy. He was just pressing the auto cue and just hoping it sounded like OK, and he didn't sound like a robot.
Yeah, and
maybe
some of it was probably in Latin, which no one understands.
That's what. Also, by the way, the Met face is being broken up. That was the other story.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're a criminal, good times.
Yeah.
Now's the time. Just work out where the lines are.
Yeah.
There's probably one street that's not covered by one of the forces.
But the last time the police split up, Sting went solo, and that wasn't good for anybody. So I don't think it's a good idea.
Those sad times. It's a music joke. That's your version of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Excellent. We move on now to The Guardian. Josh, what are they going with?
Health union members in push to reject NHS pay deal. So there's a vote. Supposedly, the government have offered a 5% pay increase, so like 2% this year, like for last year, and then another 4%, and then 5% as a permanent thing. And the union's been pretty happy with that because they've gone from a position of the government not negotiating at all. And then there are a bunch of nurses who are saying no, no, but they're from an organisation called NHS Workers Say No. So it's very hard to work out what position they're actually taking on this. But yeah, they're saying this vote's going to be on a knife edge, whether we're going to continue or not. I'm not that bothered because I'm quite healthy so far. I've managed to personally avoid not going to hospital. But I imagine for people out there who are sick, this is kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
This is ongoing.
I remember on some of the strike days, because every so often I go for a run. I'm not great at running, but on those strike days, because I don't want to fall down and need to call an ambulance, so I only went running around a hospital.
Absolutely, very clever. I also didn't do any DIY. Anytime there was if I saw there was a NHS strike, no DIY.
Right.
And that's and in a way there is a part of me that's hoping the NHS strikes continue because there are some shelves that my wife has been wanting me to put up for quite some time.
Especially bank holidays. If they could do it then it'd be great.
Yeah, that would be really
Every
cool.
episode of Casualty starts with someone doing something like that, doesn't it?
Have you? When was the last time you watched Casualty?
I mean, like the 80s. So maybe not everyone, but yeah. Since then, there were a lot of DIY in the 80s that ended up with people in Casualty. Yeah. According to that documentary.
It's very, yes, I agree, and that's what got me started.
Yeah. Also on the front page, I guess that picture of the royal family looks different, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, God, that's them standing around.
And finally, we move to the Daily Star, Ben. What are they talking about?
Well, they're talking about just when we thought spring had sort of arrived. It was a beautiful day today, wasn't it? They say, the Daily Star say, that we're going to have a polar scare, this huge 700-mile polar plunge, and it's going to be -9 later in the week. So
they've got a snowman, they've got someone in sunglasses. Polar scare? Polar bear? Is that what they're trying to say? Is that pun? Is that what they're saying?
I
Yeah.
think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to work out whether -9, because I've not read the full thing, because it's a weather story on the front page of a tabloid, so I didn't read the whole thing. But is that -9 with the wind chill factor, or are we actually going to get -9, and are we going to get it in a place that anyone cares about?
I'm really interested that you're actually delving further into the story.
Well, you know, it's
someone else would have just ditched it straight away and moved on. But
that we
are you trying to waste some time here or something?
This snowman on the front page wearing glasses. That seems like that's some sort of a con, because doesn't actually have eyes. So I'm not buying that for a second.
He could actually be some sort of disability snowman. I'm just saying that's a little bit offensive. Also, and that carrot looks weirdly like it's been cut. Anyway, we shouldn't delve too long.
Well, coming up, we'll move on to more serious matters. The SNP is in a mess. The French in a mess, and Labour in a mess. We'll see you in 2.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236. And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prison.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
You're an inspiration to us all.
Clip that bit off.
Well, you are.
That's my ringtone. My political ambitions those days are gone, I can tell you.
She's only teasing. Go on.
He's probably going to want to lay down now. I'll give him 2 minutes to have one. Let's respectfully disagree. That's what we like on Jubes and Kerr. Come and join us. GB News, the People's Channel.
Michelle Dewberry, weekday evenings at 6 o'clock.
I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m.
What's the scoop?
I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians.
That's right.
As we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight.
We're going to get into trouble.
If it's a big story, we'll be covering it.
Spill some tea on him.
There we go.
But we'll also have some fun.
I wouldn't stick up a bank.
My father didn't love me.
So anyway,
Headliners every night from 11 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, no, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Stephen Allen. And still with me is the mother goose, Josh Howie, and the mother duck, Ben Norris. We weren't brave enough.
I get that reference. What does that mean?
One syllable was meant to be in there with the word duck, but we weren't brave enough. Monday's Telegraph. And Josh, it looks like it's back to school for someone.
Yes, closing down schools in lockdown may have been a mistake, admits clinical director. So this is one of those stories. It's covered in the Telegraph, obviously. I'd like to see if other channels might possibly talk about it in their output. And this is Jason Leach. Now, this is one of the Scottish. This is based up in Scotland, so people in Scotland will know of him. He's a dentist, which is exactly who you want to be declaring your policy. He was on TV a lot with Nicola Sturgeon as they closed down the country. And he was a face of the pandemic up in Scotland. And he says that he regrets missteps that will stay with me forever. And you know who else those mistakes might stay with? My children, who are much thicker because of these missteps, and will be for the rest of their lives.
That's
been
not
proven.
the only reason, though.
No, I mean, they're thick.
There's a low bar to
Genetics
start
and
with.
whatever, yeah, and myriad of other factors. But this is... So already they're at a deficiency, and now they've gone even lower because of my homeschooling them for 2 years. This is a really upsetting thing to read, and he's sort of talking about how... because up in Scotland, they were making the rules even stricter than in England, and it was kind of like a rules race. Like, they were just trying to see who could, like, outdo each other. And then you know from those WhatsApp messages that came out with Hancock that they were, like, because Scotland was, like, going down, lockdown more and whatever. They were like, well, we can't let them outdo us with our lockdown. And then that's what it was. And what it wasn't about was science, which is what we were told it was. I mean, I know in some cases it was, but some cases it wasn't, and that's very upsetting for me. And the fact that you had older pupils forced to wear face masks even in lessons until February last year. And I remember, but it was a bit earlier with my son, and he's 13 years old and he's sitting all day. You got kids around the same age, or a little bit older, aren't they?
Yeah, they are now.
But I mean, are you angry about that? What happened?
Yeah, I do think that
you can look angry.
I'm looking angry.
Show me your angry face.
No, I think it seems that we didn't need to be quite so harsh with the lockdowns with school kids. And yeah, I have to say my kids were delighted, as I'm sure lots of kids were, that they weren't going to school. But then they realised this is going to get pretty boring as well. So,
did you do homeschooling?
No.
Okay.
What do you do for all that time? Just totally give in on them and think, we can always have more kids.
They were getting sent stuff.
Okay. Yours are a bit older, so the secondary schools are a bit better with the classes and stuff. But primary schools, which is where some very pivotal years were missed out, certainly with I can't remember, I've got too many kids to remember, but I think one of the kids, the 9-year-old, his spelling is still terrible, and his spelling is still bad compared to his little sister, who's 6, because he missed out those 2 years where it all gets put together. And it just really upsets me because it was unnecessary. and they weren't following the science, and there are now going to be ramifications for kids for the rest of their lives. I'm going to have to pay for a tutor.
That's the thing that really gets you. Yeah. That's the thing that stings. Let's move on to Monday's Telegraph, Ben, and the SNP putting the SN into snafu.
Well, it seems the SNP have been hemorrhaging members to the tune of about 50,000 since 2019. And since Sturgeon announced she was stepping down, there's been something of a meltdown in the SNP. And the truth is, though, as an English bloke, it's really quite hard to give a toss about Scottish politics. And of course it's important, but it's just hard to, really passionately care. But, they've got...
well, that's the advert for the SNP worked out for the next year. They're just going to play that clip and then the membership's going to go straight back up again.
I suppose so, yeah. They've got 72,000 members, and I reckon probably the Proclaimers have more fans than that. But the Proclaimers they support the Alba Party, don't they, which is Alex Salmond's
the true,
party.
Authentic.
And it turns out that Alba...
The real SNP.
The real one. And Alba is short for I'll believe it when I see it.
If you're going to do your Scottish accent, I'm going to do mine.
OK.
This really is winning independence for them. I can't believe you've not only the first comment, followed by the accent, the rest of it. This is the thing, though, I suppose. I mean, do you care about this in any way? Because at some point, if another referendum happens, you'll suddenly care more.
Oh, absolutely. No, I very much care because the SNP, traditionally Labour has won most seats in Scotland before the SNP rose up there. So it would make a big impact, actually, if the SNP fall apart and Labour starts getting more seats again. They're not going to be as dependent on certain other areas in England and Wales. So actually, I think it will have an impact on the United Kingdom as a whole. Also, to see the SNP falling apart with all their proclamations and how they're like the good people, and it turns out there's some dodginess and one of the leadership contenders is basically saying that their election, the leadership election, is. She's like not convinced by it because this information wasn't out there and she thinks that's affecting her chances. So I think it does affect. I also don't understand, I don't know how you are good with Scottish, where it says here they're fighting like gnats in a sack. And is that a misspelling? Do they mean nuts in a sack?
Do yours fight? Mine get along really well.
Depends. But have you ever heard of gnats in a sack?
No, I hadn't until that moment.
OK. Do you know what that means, gnats in a sack?
I imagine... I'm just guessing here. You get a sack, you put some gnats in it, and then they probably find it a bit cramped, even though gnats are quite small.
You can fit a lot of gnats in a sack.
They've got a lot of gnats.
Yeah.
I believe they call them midges.
But there is... I don't know if you've seen clips of Mr Yusuf. He's a sort of... He was saying that he was the continuity candidate, and he's a bit sort of disaster-prone. There was something really funny this week where he said that the double rapist... who went
That's
to
not a
jail.
sentence that normally starts well. Something was really funny.
It was funny in that he said, oh, yeah, it's definitely a he, and he's not... he was just pretending to be a woman. And because of that, someone then dobbed him in for the hate crime bill that he himself pushed through, saying that he'd misgendered somebody. And even though when it was put through by him and people said, look, people can use this hate act against them unwillingly and whatnot, because anybody can submit it, even not on behalf of somebody else. And they were like, no, that'll never happen. So the fact that he is now being put through is pretty funny. But he's basically said, oh, no, I'm not the continuity... He was like... Before, he was like, oh, yeah, vote for me, I'm the continuity candidate. And now it's all gone toxic and messed up and the SNP's falling apart. He's like, no, mate, what? No, vote for me. I'm breakaway. I'll do it all new. It's great to see. Love it.
As we move on to Monday's Daily Mail, Josh, Labour have to think about trans issues. Well, they should watch this channel for all of 3 minutes.
They could watch it for 1 minute and they'll get it. Labour must clarify its policy on transgender issues to win the next election, Sir Keir Starmer is told. Essentially, trans, along with some other stuff, has brought down Nicola Sturgeon, arguably, pushing through the policy that she did into self-ID laws up in Scotland.
Just to jump in, do you think that was pushed through in the hope of making Westminster trigger their clause that they could
there's an argument for that, but to see how unpopular it was up there, and she has traditionally been such a popular politician, I think it was a big shock, even though lots of people were saying normal people don't want male rapists in women's prisons. and various other things that happen with this kind of self-ID law that they were warned about quite repeatedly. And Keir Starmer has said that they said that this was also going to be Labour's policy. So now they're talking about whether it's going to be sort of quietly dropped as they've seen the reality of it come into practice. And people have been saying a long time, including me, but who am I, saying, please, Keir Starmer, I want you to win. I want Labour to get in on the next election. Over 50% of our population are women, and they don't like and a good portion of them don't like the word woman being deleted. They don't want men in women's sports and various other things. So Labour needs to sort this out, and so far they haven't. And you still are. And also, we want our politicians to just be honest. When you ask what's a woman, we don't want this. Well, 99% of women are this and that. No, just give us a proper, straight, scientific answer. Women are adult human females.
Honest politicians is a big ask.
I don't... Well, OK, then at least be a clever politician, which I think he is quite a clever politician, and realise this is a much bigger issue than they're trying to pretend it's just this culture wars, silly little thing. It isn't. It encompasses a lot of other points, and they need to get on top of it, and they're still not on top of it, even though they're seeing in real time how badly it's working for other political parties.
So, Ben, you now have 60 seconds without getting your career cancelled to try and talk on this topic. Good luck.
Well, I do think Starmer's got a little bit of a reputation now of hoping that certain things will just sort of go away. But then he is very aware of how effectively the Tories can pin him to the wall with anything that he might sort of step out of line with. And, they probably know that he does care quite deeply about some things that it's best if he doesn't speak about until they're elected, and then he can talk more widely. But I sort of understand why he doesn't want to get...
Oh, totally, I understand it, but at the same time, I think it is threatening a loss of a lot of votes, and certainly a lot of women who are very angry with him for not just taking a stand on this issue.
Also, when you have people like Lee Anderson saying reported that he said that the next election will be fought on culture war issues, then maybe you want to have some armaments in your culture war issues rather than just ignore it and just be like, oh, please don't damage me with this war.
I mean, it goes away in the easiest answer. Boris Johnson, when he was asked what's a woman, he just said it straight away. He said, this is what women are, an adult human female. But also, trans women and trans men need to be also treated with safety and respect and have their rights also upheld. So you can do both. You just have to take a stand and just be honest.
Right, let's move on to Monday's Guardian, Ben, and we're told that we should look at our phones less, but the government is going to make that harder, certainly for one day.
Yes, well, they're going to trial this system of sending a warning to all of our phones if we're in a danger area. So if there's a danger of, I don't know, a huge flood or massive fire...
Tory government getting in again.
Yeah.
Beep!
Yeah, you're going to get these warnings on your phone. And, I mean, I guess it's OK, as long as there's no kind of mission creep. I don't mind getting a warning about something that's genuinely life-threatening, but I hope it doesn't end up with, practice safe sex or don't forget it's Mother's Day. No connection. Yeah. So let's see how it goes.
To be honest, I thought you would be grateful for me sending you those messages earlier. But OK, I won't bother next year.
Is this a little bit like the government's version of that U2 album that no one wanted, and all of a sudden they can control your phone?
God, can you imagine if they put both of those together? The world's ending, and here's U2's latest album, To See You Out.
It's terrible. And the world's ending. Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, are you worried about this? I'm sure some Big Brother data-style people will say they've got too much control. You can turn it off if you're good with phones.
They can turn it off if you want to die.
What's everyone running around for?
If you don't want to get indoors. Yeah. No, I think it's good. And they actually say that there isn't really these data issues because all they do is they put it to just the towers, and any phones that are connected to the towers will then get the message. So it's not actually they won't know your number.
Go to everybody, it'll just go to the people in the danger zone from the towers.
Yeah, exactly. But also, it's not like they'll target your number specifically or get information about your number. Yeah. They'll just literally go, this tower's in that area.
It's not going to say, Josh, you're about to drown.
That would be impressive.
No, you do get those messages. We all get those emails after being on this show, don't we?
Drown in tears.
I think it's good that we know that the warning's going to happen, though.
Yes.
Because otherwise, some people who aren't aware of it will absolutely mess themselves when all of a sudden their phone, they don't expect it, goes, what, we're all going to die? What's happening?
Yeah.
They should have some sort of warning. That
driving as well. If you're driving and then it's like, look, you're going to get a ticket now. Oh, I just got... come on, no.
That's how we pay off the deficit. Well, coming up, it's intimacy, porn and divorce. Insert relationship joke there. We'll see you in 2.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things. We've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference. And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
You've probably seen politicians interviewed 1,000 times, but we do it differently. We find out who they really are, we don't shout, we chat, and hopefully we bring a bit of light, not just heat. Did you know Kate Moss?
Apparently.
Do you have a pair of jeans or a pair of jeans?
No, of course I don't. What would I do with them?
My friends are like, oh my God, what's she doing now?
Join me every Sunday at 6 for Gloria Meets, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, the Member of Parliament for North East Somerset and a former government minister. For years, I've walked the corridors of power in both Westminster and the City of London. I campaigned in the largest democratic vote in our island story. I know this country has so much to be proud of. We need to have the arguments, the discussions on how we make it better. The wisdom of the nation is in its people. Vox Populi, Vox Dei. That's why I'm joining the People's Channel. Join me Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. Monday's Guardian, Ben, and a change to divorce laws. So is now a good time to go for it?
I hope so. It says here, so the government are going to reform divorce law to make it easier for couples to split up without having to spend an absolute fortune on lawyers, because they're going to make it just less complicated, I think. And, you know, as someone who is at some point soon-ish going to sadly go through a divorce, I hope...
Does she know?
I'm going to tell her tomorrow. No, we...
you couldn't do it on Mother's Day. That'd be cruel.
That's right. No, what happened is my wife and I, as I think you know, we had a trial separation and it worked. So...
Congratulations.
And now the story... I can't believe the producer gave you this story. This is heartbreaking.
It's interesting, isn't it, that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really evil.
Yeah, but
to do that.
But if someone cries on TV, good ratings, so carry on.
Yeah, go.
No, listen, I think...
Why are you breaking up?
Did
you cheat on her?
No, I didn't.
Oh, OK,
no,
that's good.
It wasn't even as exciting as that.
Oh, man.
We grew apart.
OK.
Yeah.
Tectonic drift.
These things happen. Yeah. That's not what she said to me, but anyway, whatever.
So when changing these rules, I mean, Josh, I'm sure any day now for you, if they could sort out the financial side of it, would you go for it? That's what
you
they're
think
saying.
that is that what it is? Well, my wife and I have just been away for the weekend, and I think we're going to make it. We talked to each other. The kids weren't there, and we managed to have a conversation.
Great.
Okay.
And so things are looking hopeful for our future. Also, seeing what's happened to Ben and has really is the ultimate deterrent. Really, yeah. To see, I mean, you can't. I mean, a year ago he had brown hair. But
she got the colour in the divorce.
She got everything. Yeah.
That is.
It's too early to say.
Yeah, but but the interesting thing is, look, the fact is, 50 years these laws were written ago, 50 years ago. They are outdated. Men and women earn, comparative. I know a lot of relationships where the women earn more. So the idea that it is what it used to be in terms of there's one breadwinner, and that they need to be taking that, and the other partner needs to be taken care of for years.
And now so many people are gluten intolerant. It's not even a breadwinner that we're
Is it that kind of... Is that... I see why she left him now.
Let's move on to Monday's Daily Mail, Josh, and a story about intimacy coordinators. I used to do that for a living, and indeed still keep my hand in.
Hey! Intimacy coordinator who made sure the cast of Normal People felt comfortable during sex scenes helped launch master's degree in the subject. This will be a 2-year master's degree. And did you watch Normal People?
Yes.
What did you think of the sex scenes? Did you find them enticing?
I'm not sure enticing is the right word, but...
was the intimacy coordinated?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean...
Both at the same time?
There's a fine line between pornography and art. I think it's about an extra minute it takes me.
And you were thrown out of the gallery.
Depends on the exhibit. Who's the exhibit? But, yeah, all the genitals are covered. This person is basically... I don't know how it's going to take 2 years to learn some things here. But this is what she says. This is Ita O'Brien, and this is at the Theatre Arts in Peckham. First of all, I suggest shoot all your sex scenes in Peckham. That's going to take all the sex out of it right there.
Like all of the sex scenes in Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And she says, I want the role of intimacy coordinator and implementation of intimacy guidelines to be mandatory. So, of course you do. That's your job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I demand that they're mandatory, so I get... Even when there aren't any sex scenes, I want it to be mandatory, that I'm on set getting paid.
But Ben, do you think it's a good idea? Like, as much as we mock it...
Because not all there's the number of actors involved in this story who have completely differing views on it.
Yeah.
It does seem that most of the male actors think it's a nonsense and you don't need such a thing, and a lot of the female actors do believe that it's useful. So I guess they feel a bit more exposed. And
they probably want to be keep away from those male actors in the article, by the sounds of it. They're probably the reason that they're thinking, no, we probably should have someone else in here.
Because the fellas wear a sort of little sock device, don't they, over the...
To tell you which way the wind's blowing.
Yeah. I don't know, it must be more difficult to cover a lady's... They have just so many more lovely bits, don't they?
There you go, yeah. All the genitals are covered appropriately during intimate shoots. All the genitals? Come on, man, what's the point? I'm not going to go to cinema anymore.
You want to see just the actors' genitals covered, whereas the sound guy, the camera guy...
And then that's a pretty good idea. I think that would make it... There we go.
Levels the play. If everybody was naked on set, that would work.
Well, let's try it the next time I host this. Monday's Times, Ben, and porn is bad for you, not just because it ruins your ear sight.
What?
Eyesight. Oh, yeah, I see it.
Well, this is a comedian called Grace Campbell has made a documentary where she has visited a sex party and she left after an hour, which, seems...
right.
It's not much commitment, is it? What is the etiquette at a sex party? Like, does BYOB mean something very different? And I imagine also you'd want to sort of have a thorough cleaning of your kitchen after you've hosted a sex party before any more food is prepared.
And not serve nachos.
In there. But on a slightly more serious note, Grace Campbell goes on to say that choking, that used to be a very niche sort of BDSM activity in the bedroom, is now far more mainstream, and a lot of men think that it's a perfectly normal and acceptable thing to be choking their partner during
Right,
sex.
and by choking during sex, they mean actually choking, not like when in sport when you're just about to take the shot and you're like, oh, I can't.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, proper hands-on. And...
love how you just did the Tommy Cooper.
Just like that. But, yeah, I mean, what people do in consensual bedroom activities is obviously up to them, and everyone gets different kicks out of different stuff. I guess it's just you should ask, like anything, always ask your partner, is it OK if I wring your neck?
I don't get the choking thing. I mean, it must be a generational thing, and it must be through porn, kids or what, because what satisfaction does it... I just want some... Am I allowed to say booze?
No.
Breasts?
When we were growing up, the only people you saw choking each other was like Big Daddy and giant haystacks on Saturday Wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
No,
you put
talking
that in a
about
sex
breasts,
party.
we got some breasts from Big Daddy.
But that was only during consensual sex between them, and that did make Saturday afternoon TV more interesting than it otherwise would have been.
Here's the problem. Have you heard of Grace Campbell before?
I have to admit, I hadn't.
Yes, I mean, you're a comedian. You've been going, what, 30 years?
Yes.
I've been going 20-plus years. You've been going 20 years.
Couple of weeks, but
yeah. And, like, it's when they go comedian Grace Campbell, and you're like, I've never heard of this person. And
she's got a famous dad, hasn't she?
Well, then I did a Google, and then it turns out she's been doing it for 5 whole years. Wow. And she's done 2 solo shows. But it's weird when these comedians take off. There was a review, the funniest woman and whatever, and you're like, really? I've just never seen you down the store or...
Are you jealous because you didn't get to go to a sex party?
I was there, and I'm the reason she left after an hour.
Monday's Guardian now, Josh, and a brief history of time is wrong. I mean, obviously, I spotted the error, but please tell us what it is.
Indeed, a brief history of time is wrong. Stephen Hawking told collaborator. This is what he announced. He said, I've changed my... This is to a colleague of his, Thomas Hertog, in 2002. He called him aside and said, I've changed my mind. My book, A Brief History of Time, is written from the wrong perspective. Now, that took him about 30 minutes to...
I'm glad you just didn't do the voice.
To type that. Yeah, I didn't think... I thought I'd push it a little bit.
But that is where the story goes, isn't it?
It takes him longer and longer to communicate. I'm glad, first of all, to find out that he's declared that book's rubbish, because I've owned that book for 20 years, and now I'm grateful I haven't read it, because that book has been on my bookshelf. I tried to read it once. I know you're a big old science clever bloke, whatever. You probably read... It's probably your favourite book. You've read it 20 times, whatever. But I've tried to read it. I was like, this ain't happening.
Brief history of haven't got time.
Yeah, exactly. So now he says 20 years later, oh, by the way, I got it wrong. I'm just like, what a result. Yeah. But it turns out that him and this colleague wrote a book, but it is a bit sad because he found it much harder to communicate as time went on. He had to use his cheek, and then eventually he couldn't communicate at all. But this guy is saying that he would sort of stand in front of him and go like yes, no, and be able to tell from the glint of his eyes. And then I'm thinking, I think you wrote this book yourself.
It's just projection, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's just having a guess.
Yeah.
Ben, your take on why somehow the universal constants managed to land in a way that let life form?
What?
Apparently that was the problem with the perspective of the book.
You remember that?
I didn't follow that part of it. Yeah. I was more sort of drawn in by the story of these 2 men and how they tried to communicate.
But at least you've got that in common with Professor Stephen Hawking.
Isn't it great, though, that he was willing to admit that he'd made a mistake on that scale?
Yeah. And supposedly his new book, for 20 years, so he's got this new theory of the cosmos, one that could better account for the emergence of life. Spoiler alert, turns out it's God.
Oh.
Coming up after the break, airplane refunds, airplane erections and mind-reading beers. See you in a bit.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by headliners on TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
First and foremost, I am a GB News fan, and I was before I was working here. Just love the fact that we're asking the questions that a lot of establishment media won't ask.
With a bit of a twist, we not only want to inform you, but we want to keep you entertained.
It's worth the drive because you get in and the team's all ready and waiting, they're itching to go, and it's a proper little family.
GB News is the People's Channel.
It's the audience that makes the programme sing.
We're giving our viewers and our listeners a voice. I see the thousands of your letters, tweets, emails, you name it, coming in.
Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it?
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent you.
It's time for something different. It's time for GB News. I'm very patriotic. I believe in Britain. Our best days lie ahead.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Join us here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News has its own late-night paper preview show, Headliners, where comedians take you through the next day's top news stories. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper, we've got it covered for you. Headliners, every night at 11 p.m, and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, Monday's Daily Mail, Josh. And Wizz Air, it was more like Swizz Air for a while.
Hey! A father revealed how he got Wizz Air to pay him £4,500 for cancelling his family holiday to Portugal after months of chasing a refund by sending bailiffs to Luton Airport. So that is the story. This is Russell Quirk. He's a property expert from Essex. He's a Talk TV presenter. Well,
I saw that.
Oh, my gosh.
I know him on Twitter.
Have you ever heard of what's this Talk TV? There's another channel called Talk TV.
It'll never work.
Well, they shouldn't. Why am I being given this story? We shouldn't be mentioning this other channel. And then he says he's at the £6,000 non-refundable hotel that he paid. What? He's got a How much do they pay at this Talk TV? Wow, he's doing all right.
He was booking flights with Wizz Air.
Oh, yeah, that counts. So, OK, fine, fair enough. But essentially, it's quite a good story. He just went after them. He was like, they cancelled his flight. So first of all, he got that money back. But then he was like, wait a minute, I had to buy new flights that were £2,500 instead of £700. And also we lost the 2 days of the holiday or something, for the 2 rooms and all the other stuff. And they sort of tried to fob him off, which is what they do. And he basically took them to court. They didn't contest it. And then he actually got the bailiffs and went to the airport and said, well, we can take computers or whatever up to this value. And it all cost him about £180 plus 60 quid.
It's amazingly cheap. 180 quid for the court case and only 60 quid to send in the bailiff.
EasyJet did this to me about 10 years ago and I didn't see it through at all. And now I'm thinking, is there a statute of limitations? Because I'm owed about 60 quid. And I want to see this thing through.
You'd pay 60 quid to receive 60 quid just to watch them have their computer.
Yeah, but then maybe I'll get an article in the Daily Mail and it'll say, GB News presenter Josh Howie. Yeah!
It can talk about it on the other place if there is a place, which
doesn't exist.
Monday's Daily Star, actually, Ben, and I'm not the only one who's aroused by the word terminal.
So this guy, he's an anonymous. That's
he is
anonymous man on a sex chat on Reddit, which is again something I've never used. He says he always gets an erection when he goes on a plane. Mate, it's your seat. It's meant to be in an upright position. But this could be a particularly unpleasant thing if you were a pilot, I imagine, if this happened.
Does he work for Talk TV?
I don't think so, but I was going to say that's probably why they call it a cockpit. It must be quite inconvenient if you always get an erection when you're on an aeroplane. I mean, not being able to put your tray table down, for instance.
Oh, yeah. Depends how big you are.
Well, wouldn't be a problem for you.
Don't shame me.
But lots of things swell up, though, don't they, when you're on a plane? You see people taking their shoes off quite a lot, don't you?
Not off of that, though. I mean...
Yeah, no, but
that would be good if you could do that for medical reasons.
Yeah,
just unzip. I'm sorry. I'm afraid of getting a blood clot.
Getting a thrombosis. You normally see it with yogurts. The lid of a yogurt is bulbous because of the air pressure. So is that what you think it is? The slightly lower air pressure?
That's what it is. Yeah.
I think he's just a pervert. Just likes wings. Whoa!
It's a great story, though, isn't it?
Do you not think he just likes being delivered free alcohol by attractive air stewardesses?
Oh, really?
Like, that does it for me. I don't know why.
Do you get the free alcohol?
I don't know why they printed off all of the things I wrote on Reddit. Weird.
So vibrations of the motor is what some people seem to be... They got all scientific on this wonderful thread.
Yep.
They vibrate, and now the people are like, when I was a kid, it was being on the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shows... It's a different generation. Our generation, it was all about buses and whatnot. But these kids today, they don't know how lucky they got it with planes.
Disgusting. Monday's Daily Mail, Josh. Librarians are doing some under-the-counter offerings.
Sure are. Uncensored Enid Blyton books with outdated language are being stashed in off-limit spaces by librarians, along with pictures of aeroplanes. This is what they're doing. They're supposedly on the computer system, but the librarians, for the safety of all of us, have taken these books away and sort of hidden. So you have to kind of request them from online and whatnot.
Trigger warnings.
Yeah, trigger. Yeah, and if you do want it, it says, beware. This book might say fat. Or whatever.
Wonder what you're going to say then. My world slowed down as you have all the words, all the sounds to pick.
Yeah. So, but it seems like Enid Blyton's book. She wrote. Was it she? Wasn't it?
Yes.
She wrote 700 books. So that's a lot of books. And there was some dodgy language in there and whatnot. So where's George? She wants spanking because she wants a good talking to, and they've changed that to. Oh, sorry. Where's George? She wants spanking. And they've changed that to she wants a good talking to. And then next year's edition is she wants a good choking. And you have to have watched the earlier story, by the way, to get that reference.
Any of this bother you, Ben? The fact that it's all outback? If you want to see the good
some
stuff.
of it is easy to hear these stories and think, oh, it's wokeism. But some of the language, when you actually read it, is a bit shocking. You're like, I can't believe even then that people didn't say, that's not very nice. Some of the ways that people were described. So I think it's okay to perhaps tinker a little bit with those things. But generally, my instinct is to not, with literature, is not to do that. But I guess children's books are a slightly different thing because of the way children can be influenced and stuff like that. So maybe there's a different argument.
And Noddy is about as far as I got. Beyond...
That's filth, isn't it?
Yeah, it was like... so because then it was like, no, I read Noddy a lot, but I'm still not going to read that bloody... that science book that's been on my shelf for 20 years. That's my level, Noddy.
There was that challenge at the start of the year of reading a book a week, which I found really easy because I got a 1-year-old. So the books I'm reading to him, I'm counting.
Great.
So I'm managing to do it.
What challenge is that?
Everyone's doing the whole New Year's resolution.
Did you hear about this 1 a week challenge?
A book a year would be...
Yeah, honestly, if you go for 10 little fingers, 10 little toes, hungry as caterpillar, I am romping through them. Doing brilliantly this year. Monday's Metro, Ben. Possibly the reason that Professor Stephen Hawkins managed to mess up that book.
So this is robotics expert and entrepreneur Seth Jackson, and he's created a robot beer pump that you can operate just using your mind.
Oh, good.
I can't even believe this is true. Is it true? Because it claims to be true.
It's in the Metro, so it has to be.
Is there really technology where I think about a thing and I can make a physical thing? That blows my mind. Which,
Which means you can't order another
I wouldn't
pint.
better do it. But he says you can tip the glass, just using your mind with this robot machine and pour your own beer, and the better you get at thinking it, the better your beer will turn out. And it's called Homer, this system. I guess it's, named after the Simpsons character. It's a bit of fun, isn't it? If it's true.
And he says he's hoping that the machine will inspire young people to get into engineering after they've finished rehab.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is, your first and second beer might pour very well, but your third, fourth and fifth are going to end up all over the floor, aren't they?
I mean, also, we don't need it. I think, can that not be said out loud here? I've never thought to myself, oh, if only I could pour myself a drink without using my hands.
Yeah.
No. I mean, we've got encephalographs, use them for good things, not for, oh, look at this fancy pint that pours itself.
Why don't we just do the thing where, like, they have some sort of pulley system where this guy goes onto a plane and then gets the angle exactly right, lifts it up.
Well, the show is thankfully nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Monday's front pages. The Daily Mail, Euro judges set to back down on Rwanda flights. The Guardian, health union members in push to reject NHS pay deal. The Times, toxic Met faces being broken up. The Express, Rwanda plan is Euro court backing down. And the Metro goes with Boris's deadly dossier. And finally, the Daily Star, spring's on hold, folks, polar scare, and those were your front pages. And that's all we have time for. Thank you to my guests, Josh Howie and Ben Norris. Tune in tomorrow, where Simon Evans will be joined by Francis Foster and Nick Digson. And remember, if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, stay tuned for The Breakfast Show, because that is on its way next. Till next time, have a good one.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB+ radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prison.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess I've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
You're an inspiration to us all.
Clip that bit up.
Well, you are.
That's my ringtone. My political ambitions those days are gone, I can tell you. She's only teasing. Go on. He's probably going to want to lay down now. I'll give him 2 minutes to have one. Let's respectfully disagree. That's what we like on Jubes and Kerr. Come and join us. GB News, the People's Channel.
Michelle Dewberry, weekday evenings at 6 o'clock.
I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m.
What's the scoop?
I'll be joined by 2 of the country's top comedians.
That's right.
As we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight.
We're going to get into trouble.
If it's a big story, we'll be covering it.
Spill some tea on him.
There we go.
But we'll also have some fun.
I wouldn't stick up a bank.
My father didn't love me. So anyway.
Headliners every night from 11 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, no, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good evening, I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom.
The Home Secretary says Rwanda is ready to receive migrants and she hopes to start deportation flights by the summer. Suella Braverman has continued her visit to Rwanda, where earlier today she met with students from Kepler, a non-profit university programme where at least 25% of its students are refugees. Ms Braverman also attended a street fair which was organised to celebrate Commonwealth Day. The UK and Rwanda are vowing to step up efforts to tackle migration. The agreement between the two countries has been expanded to include all illegal migrants and not just asylum seekers.
Progress is being made rapidly, and I'm really confident on the back of the progress that I've seen here in Kigali that we will be able to operationalise this world-leading agreement very, very soon. The big point here is that there will be a package of high-quality humanitarian support for people who will be relocated to Rwanda. That, combined with our robust new laws, will enable us to break the business model of the people smuggling gangs.
Now, the deal with Rwanda has cost £140 million, which Shadow Levelling Up Secretary Lisa Nandy says could have been better spent.
We think you should take that money, put it into the National Crime Agency, create a cross-border cell that disrupts the criminal gangs and send the clearest possible message to those criminal gangs that their behaviour won't be tolerated and that will bring them to account should they persist. Instead, we've had more and more of the tough talk from this government, and last year the boat crossings hit a record high of 45,000. It's not working, and it's about time the government recognised that.
Boris Johnson will publish evidence in his defence over allegations he misled Parliament on Partygate. He's expected to submit a dossier to the Commons Privileges Committee tomorrow before being questioned by MPs on Wednesday. The investigation is being chaired by Labour's Harriet Harman, but the panel has a Conservative majority. And the King has paid tribute